fans. The holiday week is here, but we're not decking the halls. We're decking defenders. Welcome, everybody, to Western Mass News Frozen Frenzy. I'm your host, Tyler Baraldi, and with this second week of action, you'd think these teams were already playing for playoffs, because who needs a holiday break when you're out there breaking ankles? Now, the second week of just about any season, of just about any sport, is where teams really get a chance to make a statement. Week one, as exciting as it is, it can be a weird one. I mean, look at the NFL. The Patriots lost to the Raiders, and now they're near the top of their conference. But in week two, you get a chance to regain control of the narrative and establish what's a fluke and what's a pattern. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the lineup. We've got some big game recaps this week, including some heated rivalries on the ice and some massive girls basketball matchups. Then we move on to Coach's Corner, where we're going to have a chat with Agawam's hockey coach, getting some expert insight onto how the Brownies season is starting and his hopes for the rest of the winter. Then moving on to some big game previews, the major matchups that you can expect to see this week and what to expect for next week's edition of Frozen Frenzy. Then next up, the athlete of the week, who's a freshman who's already putting in some varsity minutes. You're not going to want to miss that electric interview. And then finally, as always, we're going to be finishing off with the Frozen 5 top 5 plays we saw this week. And of course, don't forget to submit your own as well, and don't feel like you have to be varsity to be highlighted on this show. Now we're going to kick off our game recaps. I already mentioned we had some big matchups, so let's jump into the action. We heard all about the new Agawam girls basketball team in week one, and now we get to see them in action here in week two against East Longmeadow. And at the half, it was East Longmeadow holding a 7-point lead, but the Brownies did close that margin up fast in the third before entering the fourth, 23-19. However, in that final quarter, as the Brownies tried to bounce back, Grace Moore brought out the silencer. The senior absolutely taking over, scoring 10 points in crunch time and finishing with 25 total. Notably, that's just one less point than Agawam's whole squad. And it's Moore's late-game fireworks that propel the Spartans to victory over the Brownies. East Longmeadow remains undefeated with the 37-26 win. Into the rink now with Ludlow and Minnechaug facing off at Olympia Ice Center. The Lions start out the scoring in the first with a one-timer from Andrew Lambert that somehow sneaks past the goalie. But later in the first, the floodgates are open for the Falcons. Kelly Bellaw gets them started. Then 30 seconds later, Brody Phaneuf gets a through pass from his teammate, and he locks in on the back of the net. And then, with a minute left, Jacob Moore sneaks one in the backside. That 1-0 becomes 3-1 real quick. And that's just a heat check that the Lions can't come back from. Minnechaug wins 5-2. Back to the hardwood now with East Hampton visiting West Springfield. The Eagles are 1-1 while the Terriers are still searching for their first win of the season. Westside, desperate to avoid starting 0-3, jump out to a big lead in the first quarter with Jaden Guerrero, the big dog of the Terriers. He had 7 in the first, almost outscoring that Eagles team by himself. Meanwhile, East Hampton struggled to find the net, only scoring 5 until Chase Cannon-Smith, with his coach counting down the clock, pulls up from deep, and that's a big 3 at the buzzer to keep it within reach. But the Eagles can't recover from Westside's massive quarter as the Terriers get their first dub of the year, 54-45. Back to girls ball now with Longmeadow and Charter facing off in Springfield. And folks, it was all Lancers early and often in this one. First half domination by Longmeadow, led by Laura Minardi's 13 first half points and Sanaya Mitchell tacking on 11 of her own. The Bulldogs having to wait until the second quarter before they even saw the scoreboard. Adri Mars nails a massive 3, and that's at least going to wipe away the goose egg. But it was still all Longmeadow, and it was dominance. They beat SIC 64-21. And we wrap things up on the ice now with one of Western Mass's biggest rivalries. That's Agawam and Westside. And let me tell you, it didn't look pretty for the Brownies in the first, letting up 4 goals in the first 7 minutes. They did move their backup goalie into the net to try and stabilize things, and we can say that change did work for the most part. That quick scoring barrage was halted The score stalled at 5-1 heading into the third, but then Westside got on the board again with a wrister off the botched handoff. Agawam would answer back with a Braden Pirelli goal of their own, and we told you this is a classic rivalry, so of course things got a little chippy in the end, but by that point, the writing was on the wall. The Terriers take a 6-2 win over the Brownies and get their first win of this young season. All right, folks, it's now time for Coach's Corner, where we're taking a deep dive into the great minds behind some of the top teams in Western Mass. And today, we have one of the head coaches of that last game you just saw, that being Agawam's head hockey coach, Todd Rowley. Coach Rowley, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Happy to have you. Now, we just saw that game against Westside. It didn't exactly go to plan for the Brownies, but of course, the season's so early right now. So, how do you keep your team focused more on the road ahead than, what's happened already?
Yeah, obviously off to a slow start. We got a lot of new guys in our locker room, and, we're trying to still tune up some things. These guys do a great job of keeping themselves motivated. They play with a lot of heart. We got down early in that Westside game, and then we were able to battle back. We stopped the bleeding there in the first, and then these guys just continued to grind. And, they play for each other. We got some great leadership in the room with Captain Anthony Barberini, great senior group that have, been here, know how things are done, part of a championship last year, and they're using that to get back to where we were last year. It's just going to take some time.
Absolutely. And, we've talked to so many teams this year where that, having a lot of young players, the start of the season is always a little bit tumultuous. And like you said, Agawam was able to, and like I said as well, kind of stop the bleeding there after that. It was just real quick points in the first. And from there, it was just a matter of staying in it. But of course, it's a rivalry game. Those are always going to be extraordinarily tough. So this isn't the first time or the last time that Agawam's going to find itself playing Westside. It's one of the bigger rivalries we have here. So what's that energy like in the locker room, or even just, as a coach heading into a big rivalry game?
Yeah, we love playing Westside. It's such a big game for us, even though opposite leagues now. But all the kids know each other, a little bit of talking before the game between the teams, and just the energy in the building. You see a big turnout for that. Emotions get high. You saw it get chippy there at the end. But that's the great thing about our game is when those emotions get high, you get the best out of both teams. And that when you're playing Westside, you got to bring your A game, because they're bringing everything they got. We were bringing everything we got. And it's just a fun game to be a part of. It really is.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing about hockey that I love, that I think most people love, is, it's a little different than maybe your rivalry basketball game. Things do get a little chippy in the end, and that's just the way that it goes. So we love to see it. Now, looking forward for your squad, like I've said, we've said a million times, it's only week 2. We're still so early into the hockey season. So what are some of the adjustments that, you see, of course, without revealing your game plan for any opponents, that you're looking to put in place to get this squad bouncing back?
Well, we have 15 new kids to the roster from last year. So, we have the kids that came back that, we know what they have, but we're still figuring out where guys fit, and we're looking to put those pieces together and, really buy into our systems and keeping the kids motivated. Like I said before, our leadership group is so good. They're keeping everybody positive. Even with the slow start, we know that we have more in the tank as we go on. Our schedule is very front loaded, so we're kind of learning on the fly here with, back-to-back games and not as much practice time as we like. So once we're able to kind of settle down through the break, we can fine tune some things in practice and just keep these guys rolling. But they're all positive coming to the rink, and they're ready to go, and just ready for the next opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, that makes sense. Again, when you have a young squad, front-loaded schedule, these are kind of some of the growing pains that we're starting out with. So, we're going to be following you guys throughout the rest of the season, and hopefully we can see some bounce-back performances coming up. But in the meantime, Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and, best of luck with your next matchups.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Happy holidays. as well.
Same to you.
So, all right.
Same to you. Enjoy it.
Thank you. So we're now going to pivot over to our game previews here. We've got some big matchups to look out for in the coming days. I mean, starting off, we've got a pair of huge Valley League boys basketball matchups. And then, you know, we got Chicopee Comp, who took care of their crosstown rivals 86-49. But how are they going to do against the fierce Beavers of Putnam? They're always a threat at the top of the league. Then Pope Francis heads up to Holyoke with the Cardinals and the Purple Knights, usually being a good matchup. So this one might end up determining some of that late season seeding. Moving on to the girls' games, we have Longmeadow facing Minnechaug with the Falcons already at the top of the division, but you just watch those Lancers play, and they're always a feared opponent. And then finally, we have Northampton heading down to South Hadley with the Tigers looking good early, but you can never really count out the Lady Blue Devils. All right, everybody, you already know what time it is. It's time for our Athlete of the Week. And today we're featuring a freshman who's already making an impact for the Springfield International Bulldogs. Mason, congratulations on winning Athlete of the Week. You won the nomination this week. And a big reason why is you had your first game ever as varsity high school player. Can you just walk us through what was that feeling like when you first took the court, you know, for the first time?
I mean, it's just a great feeling. Like, I know I've like worked for this, and like I feel like I really, you know, earned to be out there with all these guys. The
first question that comes to mind is you didn't just take the court. It wasn't just, you know, something worth celebrating because it was your first game. It was also a game where you contributed on every facet of the floor. You're a point guard, but you put up some points. You got a couple of assists. It was what, 5 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, or something like that. So that's filling the stat sheet all around. What leads you to play in that way, just in your first game? I feel like a lot of people would be sort of in their own head a little nervous about that.
I mean, it's definitely like my teammates. My teammates really help, support. We all stick together. Guys, like Jalen, Jalen, Jaden, just stick together, help each other and just play. Yeah.
Totally. So, obviously your teammates, incredibly important as you're getting your feet wet in the high school, just high school sports in general, high school in general even. Do you have any favorite memories that come to mind, favorite moments with your new team since you came to a charter school?
Yeah, definitely, every day after school, just help, push each other at practice, keep the energy up. And, I feel like those are pretty good memories because, we just know we're all getting better together,
Absolutely. And I'm sure there are some viewers watching right now, whether they're in 8th grade, 9th grade, just starting off their potential varsity careers, but they might, be looking for some sort of motivation. Seeing somebody come in and play like you did might do that. So do you have any words of advice or wisdom for any would-be first-year varsity players?
Don't listen to nobody but yourself. Like, just keep going. Don't listen to none of the outside. Just pay attention to yourself, and that's really, just keep your head down and just keep going. Yeah. We
were talking about how you and your performance could be inspiring people that are nervous to maybe play their first snap of football, play their first quarter of basketball, because no matter what the athletes in the world like to say, everybody gets nervous when it's their first time doing something new like that. Who are some of the people in your life that inspired you to get you where you are right now?
I mean, again, shout out to my teammates, Jaden, Jeremiah, Pierce, definitely Pierce. They just, help me keep going forward. Just, give me just like any motivation. Any motivation is help. But yeah, it's really those guys that, really help me during, yeah. And my coach.
You got to shout out the coach, of course. He's watching in the background. Yeah. So my last real hard-hitting question right here before we get into the fast break is that jump from middle school basketball to high school basketball. Obviously, on the court you performed, but from your perspective, how was that shift? Did you notice a big difference in how you had to play?
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, I've been playing, probably 7th grade, but it's definitely a big jump from, the varsity level to, everything's just faster. You just gotta play. You just gotta play right. You just gotta stay calm and stay disciplined, and that's just how I worked. Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, it showed because you wasn't just points, folks, wasn't just rebounds, wasn't just assists. You know, you really contributed in every facet of the game. You can't do that without discipline and being in the right headspace. So that, like I said, that's going to do it for our hard-hitting questions. Now we have what we call our fast break. All right, so this is the way it's going to work. It's going to be 3 rapid-fire questions. I don't want you to think about it. Don't look at Coach. Straight off the hip, first thought that comes to mind. Okay? Are you ready? All right. Question number 1. If you had to pick one artist, you can't listen to anybody else for the rest of your life, who would it be?
Rod Wave.
Rod Wave. All right, Rod Wave. I like it. That was instant. No second guessing there. Into Rod Wave. All right. I didn't know high schoolers were still listening to Rod Wave. All right, sweet. All right, second question. Favorite athlete of all time? No thinking. Okay. Come on now, you got it.
Favorite athlete. Elliot Cadeau. Elliot Cadeau.
All right. There we go. That was actually not the poll that I was expecting. I feel like usually we're looking for like a Tom Brady or something. Hey, that's awesome. All right. Last question here, and this is the big one, okay? If you had to pick one sport that you could play for the rest of your life, is it going to be basketball, or do you have like a deep cut sport in your back pocket?
Basketball.
Basketball,
no matter what.
No matter what. All right. See, I feel like every time there's sometimes athletes are like, yeah, I'm a basketball player, but really deep down, I love darts. And I was I got that energy, but maybe I was wrong. No. All right, sweet. Well, Mason, congratulations on your Athlete of the Week. And folks, that's going to do it for us here. So Tyler, back to you again in the studio.
Well, thank you, Tyler. And hey, if you know a special athlete who's making an impact both on and off the court or the rink or even the wrestling mat, scan that QR code on your screen right now to nominate your Athlete of the Week, and they could be featured right here on Frozen Frenzy. And now it's time for our top plays of the week, so let's get right into it, starting with number 5. That's going to take us over to West Side with Jaden Guerrero from the corner, out to Matt Phillips, baseline drive in, and Guerrero gets it back and puts it in. You know Coach loves to see that. And at number 4, we have Brony Phaneuf. He brought the sniper out on this one. He's a marksman in the top corner, and that's a big shot that gave Chog a lead that they'd end up keeping. And at number 3, end of the first for Longmeadow, Addie McDonald picks up the loose ball, puts up a prayer, and it cashes in. Even she can't believe that one fell. And number 2, we have a mishandled puck by Agawam. West Side's Cooper Mataz comes in for the rebound, hits the top pipe, gets his own rebound, and he finds the net as he's going down for the goal. And finally, number 1 had to be this Chase Cannon Smith buzzer beater. He doesn't even need to call bank on that one. That's fallen from near the logo. And that's going to do it for us today. So stay warm, everybody. Have a happy holidays, and we'll be back next week for more Frozen Frenzy.